Okay, good morning once again. We are back to our chemistry class. Last time we were trying to look at the categories of substances, or we are trying to look at the classification of substances, and we found how they are classified. And one thing we found out is that categories or the mixtures are what is the main component of all the substances. Because we found they are never pure or they rarely exist as pure substances. So these mixtures, we classified them and we had various categories of mixtures starting from solid, liquid, solid, liquid, liquid gas, solid gas, and gas. Although we also had some smaller subdivisions, like in the liquid and the solid, we had the miscible and the immiscible. In the liquid and the liquid, the we had the soluble and the insoluble for the liquid and the solid. And for the liquid, we had the immiscible and the miscible. Today, I want us to look at briefly how we separate some of these kind of mixtures. And we'll be starting with the first category of solid and solid. So we are dealing with separation of mixtures. So if you want to separate these mixtures, one thing, it will depend on what kind of mixture you have. And there are several methods which can be applied in each category, and that will depend on maybe the nature of what you are separating. It can also depend on the means which you have to separate them. So our first category is of solid and solid. We had given examples of these, like beans and maize, and I'm sure this is something which started back in primary schools, and you were given some methods of separating the solids from solid, and one of the simplest method is called hand picking. Hand picking. This is where you just pick, like if you have beans and maize, it is very easy for you to separate them. You just pick one of them. If you decide to pick out the maize, you just pick all of them. That one you can use your hands and you can separate the two. It is a very simple method, but remember it can apply on some substances. There are others where you cannot apply, depending mainly on size and some other factors. We were also, you also learned about something called winnowing. This one I think was back in primary school. Like when you are separating or when you are purifying maize, when you want to cook githeri, there is that method where you put it in a certain basket and then you winnow. I think that one is better known by ladies, they know how to do that. Or even the rice, if it has small leafy particles which are light, you just winnow and they are just blown by the wind, or sometimes you can even blow. That is another method of separating solid from solid. Now, at secondary level, when you came to secondary school, I think we advance and we have some other methods which we can add onto this of separating the same. Remember, we are saying the method you are using will depend on the size and the nature of the components of your mixture. Like you have a mixture where you can have something like some pieces of metal which are in a solid. For example, you have your maize flour and it has been contaminated with some iron filings, small pieces of iron metal. It is not possible for you to do the two. You cannot do hand picking because they might be very small. You cannot do the winnowing because they are also a bit heavy, and it requires that you get into another method And one of another method which we'll be adding on this is a method where we say, or we call it, the use of a magnet. The reason why we pick this method is because we know that magnets can attract metals. And the nature of what you're having here as a mixture, you have a non-metal, which is now the maize flour, for example, and we have the iron filings. So you bring a magnet, and if you just pass it over your maize flour, it is going to pick all the pieces of metal from it. And finally, you have done a separation. That is a separation where you are separating two solids. But remember, we are saying the method, it depends on the nature of what you are separating. So the use of a magnet becomes another method which you require to know that it is used as far as one of them can be attracted by the magnet. Another method which you are going to mention, and maybe at a later stage, we will be demonstrating it in the laboratory, together with the teacher when things kind of get back to normal. It is a method which we call sublimation. Sublimation. That term refers to a method where one of the components sublimes, and to sublime means it can change directly from a solid to a gas without passing through the liquid state. Changing from a solid straight to a gas without going through the liquid state. That is what is called sublimation. For example, we have a substance we call iodine. Iodine is one of the substances which can change straight from a solid to a gas without melting or without going through the liquid state. So, if you have, for example, a mixture of iodine and sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is the name of the common salt which we use to put in our food or to put taste in our food. If these two are mixed, you just need to put them somewhere and you heat. If you heat, the iodine will directly change to a vapor and it's going to kind of get out of your mixture. And you'll be left back with your sodium chloride. So that is a method which we can also add in our category here called sublimation. And this one is because one of them can change from a solid to a gas straight without going through the liquid state. So those are four categories